Welcome back to the Motivated Mind Zone. Glad to have you here. So today we're taking a pretty unique shortcut, I think. We often talk about health, wellness, all that. But today we're really diving deep into the mental side of things for the folks who keep us healthy. Doctors, nurses, the whole medical team. We've got this great material, basically. A doctor reacting to a whole bunch of medical memes, the funny ones, sometimes the really dark ones. And we're using these jokes not just, for laughs, but almost like a key to unlock what's really going on, the pressures, the tough realities of their daily lives.
Exactly. This stuff is gold, really, because humor, well, it's such a basic coping mechanism, isn't it? What people in a profession joke about tells you exactly where the biggest stress points are. So the mission here, it's not just looking at funny pictures online. It's about pulling out that real, honest truth about what they all go through together. Sleepless nights, tricky patient situations, all of it.
Yeah, and it feels like reviewing memes, especially medical ones, it sort of blew up online, right? But when you get a doctor's take on it, that's different. It's like getting an unfiltered peek behind the curtain.
Precisely. Because, I mean, faced with some of the absurdity and the, frankly, high stakes they deal with, if you don't find a way to laugh, you might just break.
Yeah.
So this humor, it sort of protects them, but it also, maybe unintentionally, shines a light on the cracks in the system they're working within.
Okay, right. Let's unpack some of this. Section one, starting with that classic doctor humor. The dry wit, the puns, sometimes those groan-worthy dad jokes. They actually reveal a lot about handling tough spots. Like, we saw the doctor admitting they've actually used that old joke on patients. You know the one. Patient says, "Doc, I broke my arm in 3 places."
Now the doctor goes, well, don't go to those places.
Yeah. He admitted using it on patients who weren't happy.
It's a defense mechanism, isn't it? A maybe slightly insensitive one, but still.
Mm-hmm.
It's humor to create a bit of distance, maybe cool things down when a patient is frustrated or upset. It's like part of the professional armor they wear.
But then there are the jokes that, well, you kind of need the medical degree to even get. They show how science-focused they are. Like that meme about tying the clot,
Oh yeah, the two figures and the punchline coagulations.
which is a great pun. But the doctor's reaction instantly went to the biology.
That's what was so telling. Their first thought wasn't, ha, clever pun. It was, hang on, technically, platelets are involved in clots. I don't see platelets here. They were questioning the picture itself. It just shows how their brains are wired, doesn't it? Always analyzing, always checking the science. Even when it's a joke, that scientific vigilance, it just doesn't switch off.
That level of detail is pretty intense. And then there are the jokes that sort of hint at the selection process, like who actually makes it through med school? That word, puzzle, P-N-E-I-S.
Right. Rearrange it to form the name of an important body part, most useful when erect.
And the punchline is, the ones who said spine? They're the doctors today.
It's that focus again, that scientific,
Yeah.
maybe slightly literal thinking. And it was interesting. The doctor admitted they didn't immediately think spine. Felt like a trick. Kind of humanizes them, shows that mental gear shift you need.
But let's switch gears a bit to the stress you see in the patient-related humor. That simple meme, just a picture of a spine, and the caption's like, me. Put it back.
Yeah, that one really captures the emotional load, doesn't it?
Or maybe just the sheer exhaustion. The doctor's reaction was basically, oh, God, if a patient actually says that to me, I think I'll just cry. It's not even necessarily about the patient being difficult. It's more like their own emotional energy is just completely gone. They dread having to explain the absolute basics again because they're already running on fumes.
Okay, and this is where it gets really, really interesting, I think. Because these jokes, they start reflecting the actual, day-to-day grind, the exhaustion, the weird superstitions. Oh, definitely. The whole thing about the quiet shift.
Right. The source material mentioned this deep-seated fear, the superstition about using the Q word, saying quiet out loud during your shift.
It's like saying Macbeth in a theater. Total taboo in the medical world.
Yeah.
The meme nailed it. A nurse looking all paranoid because things are going too smoothly, thinking it must be the calm before the storm, the coming of the apocalypse. What's really behind that? It seems so counterintuitive, right?
Well, I think most of us would love a quiet day at work, but for them, Silence is ominous.
It's practically a guarantee that all hell is about to break loose.
Hmm.
Saying quiet is like sending out a cosmic invitation for chaos.
Mm.
We're talking, boom, 6 or 7 unexpected admissions hitting the floor at once, maybe a couple of rapid responses where a patient is suddenly deteriorating.
And worst case,
A code blue, which, for anyone listening who isn't in medicine, that's the big one.
mm,
Cardiac arrest, respiratory arrest. Someone needs immediate resuscitation, life or death right there. That volatility that anything can happen at any second feeling, that's their normal. And
mm.
you see in those memes about the crazy ways they try to sleep.
Which connects straight to the sleep deprivation, right? The meme about sleeping positions.
Hmm.
And the doctor admitting on a 24-hour shift, maybe catching just 15 minutes of sleep here and there.
15 minutes. It's an insane standard they operate under. It's not just stressful, it's fundamentally unsustainable.
Mm.
And a simple joke manages to capture that whole reality.
It also shows how disconnected their world can be from, regular life. Like the meme pointing out that any day is a work day. The doctor mentioned working right through Christmas. Holidays just aren't the same thing.
No, not when you're providing care around the clock.
Yeah.
That feeds into this deep or sometimes painful disconnect. The meme that really hit hard was, performs life-saving 12-hour surgery, patient thanks God.
Oof. Yeah, that's a dark joke, but you can see the feeling behind it. Professional invisibility.
It touches on something academics call moral injury. It's that deep emotional wound you get from seeing or doing things that clash with your own ethics or values.
Mm.
And in that joke, it's exactly that. Feeling invisible. You poured 12 hours, all your skill, your training into saving someone, and the credit goes elsewhere. It kind of strips away the human recognition, and that definitely contributes to burnout, feeling like your commitment isn't really seen.
So, thinking about the patient side, what does all this mean for our experience? The humor seems to zoom in on those friction points like timekeeping, lateness, that Denzel Washington meme.
Yeah, the contrast. You show up 15 minutes late, appointment canceled, you show up on time, you wait an hour.
So frustrating. But the doctor's explanation makes sense from their side.
Right. They explain that being late, even by 15 minutes, isn't just about your appointment. It throws off the entire schedule after you. Someone else loses their slot. So it's a hard line to protect the system, I guess.
Okay, but what about the other side? Waiting an hour when you were on time.
That's the flip side of the coin. According to the doctor, that wait usually means the patient before you needed more time. Something unexpected came up or their case was complex, and the clinical team made the call to give them that appropriate amount of time, even if it meant delays down the line. They're basically prioritizing the immediate medical need over sticking rigidly to the clock,
Hmm.
which is, clinically the right thing to do.
But sitting in the waiting room, it just feels like chaos or like your time doesn't matter. Big perception gap there. Did the source talk about how they handle that internally?
Well, the humor is part of it, clearly. But on a more serious note, there were those darker jokes hinting at financial pressures, like the one about, letting a patient die if they don't have insurance,
Yeah.
which is awful, not funny. But it's like a release valve for the terrible ethical corners the U.S. system can sometimes back them into.
Thankfully, the doctor immediately shot that down, right? With a specific fact about their own hospital.
Yes, exactly. They were quick to correct it, saying their hospital has a charity care system, a mechanism to make sure people get treated even if they can't pay or don't have insurance. So the joke reflects the anxiety about the system's financial barriers, but the professionals themselves are often actively fighting against those barriers to actually provide care, upholding the oath, basically.
Another classic friction point, communication. That feeling when the doctor asks you to tell me everything you just told the nurse 5 minutes ago makes you feel like, did anyone listen?
Yeah, and here the doctor showed some real vulnerability, I thought. They admitted that sometimes. Yeah, it happens. If they get pulled away for an emergency right after the nurse briefs them, or they're juggling multiple complex patients on hour 20 of a shift, those details might just slip from short-term memory for a second. It's why patients think doctors don't read the charts. But the person in the source was adamant, a hard no. They do read the charts. It's just that human memory, especially under extreme stress and fatigue, isn't infallible.
We also saw jokes playing on patient misunderstandings, like being told, "You're healthy as a horse," and then immediately worrying you might be a horse with cancer. That gap between everyday language and medical reality.
But the biggest disconnect, maybe the most jarring one, was captured in that anti-vax mom meme. I want to live to be 100 years old.
Yeah.
Anti-vax mom 3, take it or leave it.
Hmm.
It highlights this profound contradiction they live with. One minute, they're in the ER using cutting-edge science to save someone from horrific trauma. The next, they could be in their office, having a parent accuse them of deliberately poisoning their child with routine vaccines, calling them neurotoxins.
The whiplash from that, just the intellectual and emotional jump must be enormous.
Huge. Which maybe brings us to the start of their journey, becoming a doctor, being a med student. Because that whole process, it sets the stage for these pressures. The financial side alone is brutal. The source mentioned students racking up something like $100,000 in debt just in the first year or two.
And the joke was that this debt is almost like motivation, a fire lit behind you so you absolutely cannot fail. The stakes are just astronomical from day one. What a pressure cooker.
Absolutely. And that pressure cooker leads straight to that thing called medical student syndrome. The meme about getting a headache and instantly diagnosing yourself with an intracranial hematoma.
Which is bleeding inside your skull, right? A massive emergency, not just maybe I need some water.
Exactly. It's because they're cramming all this information about diseases, pathologies, so every tiny symptom feels like it could be the worst case scenario. Because those rare, deadly things are suddenly top of mind all the time. They're sort of living in this constant state of low-key health anxiety fueled by their own learning.
The source even had the doctor admitting to, well, cramming for tests, getting in the zone for short bursts, even while saying, yeah, cramming is probably bad long term. It's just a survival tactic for that environment.
And then, when they move from books to actually doing things, the humor, again, points to that gap between how we think they learn and how they actually do. The joke, don't worry, I practiced on a mannequin once. Like they're just winging it.
But the reality is way more supervised than playing a video game like Surgeon Simulator.
Oh, completely. Yes, they might start on a mannequin, sure. But the real learning for procedures happens under incredibly close supervision. They need a senior doctor literally watching them, signing off, until they've done a certain required number of successful procedures. The humor is reflecting the student's anxiety about being new, about feeling inexperienced. But the system has checks and balances, redundancy to keep patients safe.
And then just to bring it back to something relatable, even in these high-tech places, bad ID photos. The doctor calling their hospital badge photos Polaroids from the 1960s, making faces look weird.
It's that perfect little touch of absurd everyday friction, isn't it? Billion-dollar machines down the hall, but the badge photo looks like it was taken on a potato. It grounds it all somehow.
So stepping back from all these jokes and reactions, this whole deep dive, it really shows that medical humor isn't just jokes. It's essential. It's the pressure release valve for all this incredible stress, debt, emotional toll, exhaustion, being on call 24/7.
Yeah, it lets off steam from dealing with immense pressure, whether that pressure comes from the system itself or the weight of the job, the moral injury we talked about, or just plain lack of sleep.
We've definitely seen that medicine demands almost superhuman levels of dedication. You know, any day is a work day, holidays often don't count, sleep is optional, it seems. But the jokes also reveal how the system itself often struggles to support the people it relies on. And that leads to that huge internal conflict we saw being hailed as a lifesaver one minute and then treated like a threat the next, like with the vaccine resistance example.
Which really brings up a final, pretty important question for all of us, doesn't it? If we understand now that this dark humor, this gallows humor, is often a symptom of deeper systemic issues, the financial stress, the burnout, the staffing problems, how should we react to it? How do we, as people who rely on these professionals, use this insight? Not just to feel sympathy for them, but maybe to push for changes, to advocate for structures that actually support their well-being and humanity better.
Acknowledging the stress behind the joke isn't just about being curious. Maybe it's an invitation to think about how we build a more sustainable, healthier healthcare system for everyone involved. Lots to think about there. We've learned a ton about what goes on behind the white coat. Stay happy and healthy. We look forward to our next deep dive.